Footy and Frothies. We're back again. This time we're going to preview the entire competition. Only no small task. A task I'm grossly underprepared for. These two fine gentlemen with me hopefully can help out. Who are they? One is Ollie from Rugby League, in my opinion. How are you, Oliver?
I'm well and also severely underprepared. My notes are in no way, shape or form in depth, so I'm heavily relying on you two to carry me.
And someone much more reliable is Barney. He's back again for another year, at least for now, at least for this pre-season fun, which is always enjoyable. I think after 5 years, we're all sort of like just, I suppose not the eye of the storm, but we're just like, we know we're about to be in for this big slog and we're just like trying to conserve energy for the marathon ahead. But anyway, Barney, how are you?
Yeah, we've got off to a fantastic start as per usual. But
I did
leave
start
that on the
with,
cutting room floor
with my mic on mute, so that's good. So this is take two.
Gary Jack's completely cooked at the moment, so I've spent about half an hour trying to get out of bed each morning the last 2 days, which has been fantastic. But other than that, going pretty well.
Nothing workers' comp can't fix, surely.
Didn't happen, or what happened at work many years ago.
Of course it happened at work, David.
It happened at work, I reckon, 6 or 7 years ago, but something that just reoccurs every now and then. And yeah, it'll let go in another day or so, I would imagine. And
right.
It'll be up and going again, but we should be fine.
Stick with that Pilates.
Yeah, no, that does seem to work more than anything else. Stretching out and working on the core.
Big shame for your back having to come on this show where you got to carry us two for 5
Exactly.
hours.
Yeah, well, my notes are about half what they usually are for this preview as well.
Yeah, well, we're going to be done in half an hour.
If you want an ill-advised, underprepared season preview, have we got the podcast for you?
No, I did spend plenty of time looking at it. Just didn't put as much into written notes as I normally do this time of the year.
So basically, if you want an in-depth, really good look at an NRL season, go back and watch the podcast for 2023, 22, 21.
Somewhere around there.
Yeah.
But no,
we'll be fine.
They're
We'll get
playing
up
notes
and
and we'll be
going.
right. If there's one thing we can do, it's we can talk shit for hours about rugby league. So
generally pretty good at that.
Just have faith in the system, Oliver. We won't fuck around too much. Let's get into this just quickly. I want to thank everyone for the fantastic response to the bold prediction show. There was also plenty of people telling us we're wrong, but that's par for the course. We're popular with Canberra fans, but we'll get to that. In your notes, very, very quickly, just one response question. Did anything drastically change? Now you've seen sort of names on paper, ins and outs, got a clearer picture. It's never the idea of the bold prediction show. It's usually a sign-off rather than a launch. Anything that's caught your eye or something you want to tweak slightly?
There is one team that I have dropped down the ladder significantly. Like, significantly.
Okay. Brian?
For mine, I think I said it in the bold prediction show. I think this is going to be the closest season we've seen in a long time.
I think so.
I don't think you'll see a lot between sort of sixth down. And that one game during the year could end up costing you at the back end. For mine, looking through the squads, the lack of depth in some of the forward packs are alarming for some of these sides, to be honest. And generally, you do get a few injuries during the year to a forward pack. So, a couple of these teams, if they lose one or two of their top liners, they could be in a bit of trouble.
I feel the same in that, and it's maybe stating the obvious, but I think teams that keep their top 25 fit for most of the year are going to go a long way. I know it sounds obvious, and it's what's worked in the past, but I do feel depth in just about every team is the thinnest it's been, and as long as I can remember. And the interesting thing is, we'll get to Penrith, get the Storm, but some have lost players, but no one's really gained any ground. Like, no one's suddenly built a top four squad that we weren't already aware of. I think some are going to jump, but I don't think there's any out-and-out teams that were in sort of the 4th to 10th spots that we can sit here and go, look out, it's their year.
No. If anything, I think some of those teams in the bottom of the 8 probably overperformed last season.
I think so. Which we'll always get. Definitely. So on YouTube, I think the plan for this is on YouTube. If you're watching YouTube, this will be part of the Brisbane show. I'm going to split them into team by team and put each block on YouTube. If you're listening via podcast means, this will all be one filthy lump that you can work your way through as your time permits. Anyway, let's kick off unless you have anything else to add.
Nothing to add.
Let's start. We're going to go in this year. We're going to go in alphabetical mascot order. So we're going to kick off with the Brisbane Broncos. coached by Michael Maguire, captain Adam Reynolds. They finished 12th in season 2024. Started the season 7 out of 12 before that bye, and then once that bye hit and obviously some injuries, my gosh, the cliff came and came fast. Basically, actually, the Titans started the rot around that time. I think they knocked them off when they were going okay. And in the back end, they only beat the Knights, Cowboys and Parramatta for the rest of the season. They went from 5th in round 11 to finish 12th overall. That said, injuries were a big part. Walsh and Haas only played 14 games each in 2024, 13 to Reynolds. Unfortunately, I think all of them have had pre-season setbacks for that. Are you happy for me to just read this shit out until we start talking? Gains. Ben Hunt, the Sagas over there for the Dragons, he's gone up to be their only major gain for the year. They've lost Ethan O'Neill, Corey Oates, who's retired, Jordan Pereira also retired, and Tristan Saylor's gone to St Helens for the year, where I'm sure a man of steel beckons.
Brody Croft's still playing in the Super League, so let's not.
He is.
Yeah.
I apologise, Brady. From here, I guess we're going to throw it open. Do you want me to touch on the draw? Have you done any draw notes?
I went through, gave every sort of team a ranking and did a point system. For Brisbane, they had, what did I do with Brisbane? Brisbane were slightly towards an easier side of the draw. They do have a couple of 5-day turnarounds. There's a few teams that don't have any at all, and most of them have sort of, at least one or two. And they do have a clump of games where they have to play back-to-back away games on the road. So I obviously put that into my scoring system as well. They came out as a 63. The worst draw in the comp is South. They got absolutely demolished in this draw.
That's concern.
We'll get to them when we get to it later. They start with one of the top 4 teams, and they're constantly sort of every 4 or 5 weeks they seem to have to play one of the better sides in the competition. But there is a lull through the middle round Origin period, funny enough, where they've got a clump of buys and some of the weaker teams in there. But they're going to have to be pretty consistent.
They benefit from being Brisbane, so I think they've got, as you said, only 5 Sundays all year. Pretty cosy turnarounds, the rest of it. They played twice. The Bulldogs, Dolphins, Titans, Storm, Cowboys, Bunnies, Roosters, Warriors. And but they do cop the Storm twice in the last month, so they want to be up and going by then. Anyway, Ollie, where did Brisbane sit this year after what happened last year? New coach. What's going to change from what we've seen? Take it away.
I think realistically they marginally improve. So I've got them sort of sniffing around the top 8 towards the end of the season, but I don't think they'll actually make it. Brisbane are a team where, and we saw it in 2023, but on paper, if you look at and I'm not talking even their bench or extended squad, but you look at that lineup and you think that's a on paper top 4 lineup as it was in 2023. It's just about whether or not they can consistently reach that potential, and there's so many factors. In 2023, you had Reynolds, Walsh, Haas all clicking for the entire year. Now, that's very hard to get right year in, year out, especially with Reynolds' injuries. Walsh's sort of roller coaster of form. Haas is really the only one that you can rely on in that Brisbane side, and that's why I've got him as their key player, I think, for 2025, because I think he's the player that you're going to be able to rely on most for Brisbane. I think Madge is a really good coach, and I think his time at the Tigers he was sort of bashed a bit in the media, and I think he was actually, in a way, having them overperforming. I know they were still finishing in the bottom 4, but he actually had that Tigers side overperforming a bit, and I think he's genuinely a really good coach, and I think in the coming years, if they back Madge, it will be a positive for the Broncos. I just don't see them making the top 8 this year. There's so many variables that have got to go right. If all those variables go right, they finish in the top 4. But I just think they miss the top 8.
I have done sort of somewhere between a best 17 and a first roundish 17 for every club. Should I read them out before I throw over to you guys?
Before we start speaking, if we'll start that with the next one.
I can quickly run through.
I was relying on your link, which I'll get you to resend after we finish this one. It's good because it's expired. But Yeah, did you want to go now?
Well, while I'm doing that, yep. So we're looking at Welsh fullback, obviously Arthur's, Staggs and Cobbo the centres, Marino the other wing, and obviously if anyone jumps out that I've missed, please correct me because the YouTubers definitely will. Right now I've just got Hunt and Reynolds in the halves. Obviously Ezra comes back in round 9-ish, which pushes probably Hunt to 9. I would suggest. I don't think he's going to sit too long on the bench, but he may. Haas, I've started Moza at 9. That seems to be a suggestion. Corey Jensen at 10. Now, the jungle drums seem to be beating that Carrigan's going to end up in the front row at some point this year.
What I've heard, yeah.
Piakura Ricky in the back row. Carrigan currently at 13, but Helsing has pushed in that spot. Walters 14 until we get some more reinforcements. Willison, Teakura, Hetherington, etc. make up the bench. Now you may take it away, Barn, while I send you some further information.
Yep. Corey Pakes, I think, is one that you may have missed there. I think Walters
glut
may
of
be on the
hookers.
way out, to be honest.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't surprise me if they went with the younger fella there, just a bit more pace in and around the ruck. I agree with you completely. When Mam does come back, that Hunt would probably push into the starting 9 role and then move, sort of take it once the 14 comes on, start playing that utility role, maybe even as a part of a second 6 or a 13, if you wish, playing the distribution role there. I think they should be much fitter than they were last year. They looked cooked at different times during the year last year. Their fitness was way below where it was, seemed to be way below where it was last year. Injuries didn't help them, obviously, during the year. We know Madge is a pretty hard taskmaster, so I would imagine that they'll be coming into this season a bit fitter than they were this time last year. Their kicking game will be a lot more consistent, obviously, with Hunt there. A lot more control, getting them into the spots on the field that they need to be. You mentioned Carrigan to prop. I don't mind that, actually, because they did have a big drop-off when the forward rotation was coming in. If you can keep...
You know what annoys me about... Doesn't annoy me, but he genuinely could be the best back rower in the comp.
100%.
If he played on an edge. Because remember, he was moved there for those sort of 3 weeks, and he was actually scoring tries. He was
I think
fantastic.
you might find he'll be playing 60 to 70 minutes and he'll
Just rotate
roll
from
out
the middle
there.
to... Yeah.
When Jensen comes on in the middle, because they did seem to lose a fair bit of punch through the middle of the field when they did go to their rotation last year. And I think a fresher Jensen coming on 20, 30 minutes into the game might help them strengthen up that middle for a bit. They've got X Factor there in Walsh, obviously. We've seen what he can do. He had a bit of a down season compared to his breakout year the year before. And I would be very surprised if he doesn't improve on what he put out last year. Ezra's a bit of a worry. I don't know if they go backwards a little bit with the connections and how they go when he does come back into that side.
Well, isn't he still he's allowed to train now?
Yeah.
Like doing that stuff. But yeah, I know what you're saying. Yeah.
Just obviously with the connections and the way that... Because they play a little bit of... I dare say they'll play a lot of a different game. Hunt will take it into the line at occasions, but nowhere near as much as Mam does. And
You know where you're taking the line? When he moves to 9.
Yeah. 100%.
He'll have a dig for sure because he's a tough little cookie, but I know what you're saying, yeah.
I just think that they'll probably be playing a bit more of a passing style, and it might take a few weeks when Mam comes back to switch up with that bit more of a running style with the 5'8" there. I've got them improving on last year. I think they do go back into the 8. I think they really need to work on their defence, the speed of the line. They were very slow at times last year, and that's where they seem to get caught a lot. If they can fix up that, which we know Madge is all about defensive fitness, so bit more impact in their interchange. Their centres and wingers are questionable. Not sure if Cobbo is going to want to be there by the end of the season with all the talk going on around his contract and all the rest of that stuff. And the hooker interchange with whether it's Moser, Pakes, and when Hunt goes back there, probably a few questions that the Broncos are going to need to answer.
Well, they've got essentially 4 hookers on the roster.
Yeah, 100%. One of them's got to go.
And one's manufactured, and I dare say it'll be the former coach's son that... Because Pakes was a spruik. Moats has been the spruik for 2 years. Mm-hmm. And Billy Walters was his former coach's son.
Yeah. So you probably lose one of those kids if you don't give them time this year. So
and the male seems to suggest Moats has got the inside running for now. Lovely service, athletics. One of the more athletic hookers probably in the comp.
He's not a small fella either.
No, like a lanky sort of build, which is interesting.
You mentioned strong defender. So I've got him finishing 7th at the end of the year. But
just a a quick one to go back to Selwyn Cobbo.
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot of word probably a couple of weeks ago that he was actually training back on the wing, and I've actually got him on the wing to start the year. I've got him and I think Mariner switched around. The only issue is Mariner's not really a centre and they don't really have many other players. What my question is going to be is, do you guys reckon Cobbo does end up playing majority of the season on the wing for Brisbane, or is he sort of got that centre spot saved just due to a lack of depth?
Yeah, I can't see anyone pushing him out of centre at the moment, to be honest. Just that bigger body size as well. He's not the worst defender in the world. He can get beaten on the outside with pace, but I think they keep him there more as a defensive plug than anything.
Mariner's such a try-scoring freak when he at his best that
And you want to get him on the outside of people if you can. Or,
I know Cobbo's. I'd hate to sort of use a cliche, but he's that potential to be that Latrell style player that it just feels like a better fit at centre. But if you're going to go with having that same on the wing, well, fair enough. I agree with you that Mariner's slighter, he's quicker. I don't know if that holds up in a day and age where you've got to be able to stop back rowers for a living.
Yeah, I pretty much...
yeah, fuck that for a living.
So with the lineups that I've done, I'll touch on it now before the rest of the show.
Yeah, and jump in and correct me. You can read them if you want.
My 17 lineups that I've done are what I think they're going to put out there, and based off of the
You're
mails,
next, brother.
Hey,
you're reading your team in the next.
Yeah,
all right. But based off of the mail that came out recently that he's been training on the wing, apparently he'll be there. But then again, I agree. When I went through their roster and looked at it, I put him there, and I sort of thought, well, if you're going to do that, you're going to have to play Mariner in the centres because who else is there? Like
the big question is, who else is there?
Yeah,
Oates is gone. Who's the other centre? Is Hoyter a centre? Deloise Hoyter. There's one from the...
I think.
And I don't... Karapani was a centre.
Yeah, Karapani could
and the rest, you're looking... I'm just looking at Tyson. Tyson Smoothie's a hooker as well, isn't he?
Yeah, he can play lock or something though, can't he?
Yeah, I think he can. Anyway, sorry, I'm digressing. But the point is, who else?
Yeah.
I couldn't find anyone else.
Yeah.
So... unless there's some junior, I think that's a slight concern. But at their best, there'll be plenty of games where we rave about Cobbo scoring 200-metre tries or Stags.
Oh, I'm sure there's at least...
It's probably a big year for Stags.
Yeah.
Because he's moving towards contract season, and last year wasn't his best from where he was.
Still very strong defender, but his attack did drop off markedly last year, and it was noticeable at times. I think you could see it in the frustration as well. He gave away quite a few penalties and got in a bit of shit in different games. So I think he was getting pretty frustrated. Who knows, mate? He's probably carrying an injury. I dare say most of them are at different times of the season. But
we talk a bit about how injuries were the problem last year, but maybe is it more exposed? And more I thought about it in doing these notes. Perhaps when you take out Herbie, Farnsworth,
massive loss,
Flegler. The two others that I've just had a mind blank. The two others that left to go elsewhere. It probably Herbie's. If you told me he's the best centre in the game, I wouldn't argue with you.
Top 3 last year.
Yeah. So, I think they're just massive losses they haven't covered, and then injuries are a convenient. Well, we're a cherry on top. I shouldn't say convenient excuse because they've got stuff to get. You mentioned the passing, the Reynolds Hunt passing game. That opens up to me. That Reece Walsh sweep play.
Yeah. He's
going to be the point of attack, I think, at the end of the day. Hunt's going to, I think, do a lot more running than when you would have seen at him at St George, but also he does love that crash play, and maybe 6, if you can find a back row
even on that sweep play, it definitely makes that back rower a lot more of a danger as well.
So you had some super coach notes, Barney. Do you want to crowbar them in somewhere?
Didn't have anything else that you thinking
only,
outside
they were
of
just
what
the two
we've spoken
things.
about?
I just think outside backs are concerned. I do think they improve. I think they would need to keep their best 6 players for 20 games to make any higher than the top 6.
Okay.
And other teams would have to.
Thought on where you might have them pigeonholed?
I'm going to say they're going to be one of those teams fighting at 8th.
Okay.
In the last 3 rounds.
Oh, yeah.
Which is an idea. You know what they're going to do? It has its smacks all over it because they play the Roosters, Raiders, Cowboys first forward. That's the other thing I'll throw at you before I get to your draws.
Mm-hmm.
This draw has them. I think they have a hot start. I think everyone thinks Brisbane are back, and then they're going to hit a double storm at the back of the year. They're going to hit Penrith. I think there's another very good team they're going to come up against, and they might drop. I can see them dropping 4 games in the last 8 weeks, and that will knock them into that scrambling into 7th, 8th, 9th. I think they're in that clump.
So you sort of, I guess, think of them maybe sitting around that 6 mark with a month to go,
Maybe
over a
even
month
higher.
to go.
I can see them
and they just
round 12. They'll be similar last year. I can see them in the top 5.
Yeah.
If everyone's fit.
Yeah.
If they lose Haas, they're in a world of trouble. If they lose Walsh, they're in a world of trouble.
Reynolds.
And if they lose one of their halves, they're in a world of trouble. Because, the next cab off the rank is Jock Madden, who's, I think we all know by now, he's just a good, solid tradesman. He's nothing better than that. With all due respect to Jock. Did that work for you, Barn, by the way?
Yeah, no.
Perfect. Anything else? Yeah, so where are you going there?
Yeah, so with Supercoach, I've just gone in and picked out the top 3 point scorers from last season. Had a look at some of the best averaging players, and then maybe somebody who might just, 1 or 2 that might sort of pop to mind that you might be looking at. So Carrigan was their top scorer last year, 1,444 points. He's going to cost you $642,000 to get into your side at an average of 65.6. Most of these guys are going to be priced pretty much on their average from last year.
Question without notice, did that put him in... that sort of put him about 3rd or 4th after the 2 really elite, after Yos and... Well, he's
back rowers.
He's competing against CT Dubs.
He was sort of near the top 20, basically.
Yeah, sorry, I'm thinking locks, but when you throw your Crichtons of the world, and he's
So with Hunt moving to the Broncos, he would have been their second top scorer. He got 13.56 for the season, 603K to get him in, average of 61.5. And then you had, funny enough, Corey Jensen was their 3rd highest scorer for the season. 1,276 points, an average of 53.2, and priced at $520,000
now
to get into your team. Yes. So on average, Walsh was their highest average with an average of 75.5. He's going to cost you $739 to get in. Haas averaged 68.4, 669, and Carrigan 65.6, as I mentioned.
Wait till Carrigan goes dual and snap him up.
Moser, obviously, if he does get that starting position at average 32 last year with 34 minutes. So if that goes up to 50 or 60, then, there's probably a couple of 100,000 to be made on him. 312K to get into your side. Willison, I would imagine, probably benefits with Hunt being there in the side now and should probably get a few more minutes with the guys that have been moved around. Was averaging 45 in 38 minutes last year, so 447. And Tiakura, not sure his minutes increase massively, but average of 30 with a 20-minute stint, 232K for a forward. Probably increases by 10 or 12. You might make somewhere near that 100K that people like to make before you trade him out. So.
Willison was someone I always threw into those 4-leg multis and just never quite got the ball at the right time. He was always there or thereabouts. But I think that's a better play this year with Hunt around, 100%. and we'll see what minutes Tiakura you're probably banking on a bench try to get some decent points out of him.
You're trying to get some money out of him at the start of the year would be probably the only reason you get him in your side.
We'll try and do a Supercoach show in the coming weeks and just briefly touch on all of that. Yeah, I think you've got them. We're all sort of in agreement that there's some improvement, but they're not going back to the heights of 2022 just yet.
They'll be, I think, are we sort of in agreement? They're that team that's either just going to miss or make the 8.
Yeah, I've got them in at 7th, and I think they're probably in for a bit of pain before they get back to where they were in 2022, to be honest. You got 2 of the older halves in the comp that'll retire in the next year or 2, and rebuild.
Yeah, they missed their window, end of the day. They missed their window.
There is a young fella up there. I think it's Black is his surname, but he's apparently a gun, so see how he goes.
Yeah.
But